Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to this second day of WeYield webinars for autumn 2020. As you know, due to the cancellations of the last fairs in London with the WTM and the French travel market in Paris, we are not able to meet. So therefore, we are organizing a new webinar session with a lot of guests. First, before we start, I just would like to know if everybody is okay with the sound and the image. Can you please confirm on the chat, which is here on the bottom right-hand side of your screen? Christine, okay. Marcos, okay. Thank you, guys. Marianne, okay. Thank you very much. So the concept of this webinar is to be able to, let's say, share ideas, learn new concepts, get to know what are the good and best practice from all the clients we have around the world. And we like at WeYield to spread this this moment. In our different companies, it's a bit under isolation. And therefore, it's good that sometimes we can separate ourselves. For the one who do not know me, I'm Emmanuel Scuto, the founder and CEO of WeYield. At WeYield, we aim to help the car rental operators and owners who are a bit frustrated between the type of information they have and the information they would like to have to optimize and maximize their performance. So we have a lot of experience in the car rental. I'm in the revenue management for the past 25 years, and in the car rental industry over the last 20. I have a team with a lot of experience in both the web development and the consulting and the experience in revenue management for the car. So how will it work today? We have our customer success manager, who is James Godfrey. He's based in UK, and he's helping all our clients in the non-French speaking language to improve and pilot better their daily revenue management. We have the possibility to interact with you. First, James and I may ask you some questions during the presentation, so feel free to use the chat button that you just used to confirm that the image and the sound was okay. If you have some particular questions also, you can use on the top right-hand side the question section, and either it will be answered at the end or potentially if we have time during the presentation. You know that there is a lot of disruptions and distractions during the work, especially with the mobile and the email. So I recommend that during this presentation you put your telephone on the flight mode and switch off your Slack, WhatsApp, email, just to be, let's say, more concentrated with us and have a better interactions. It's just 45 minutes or an hour. I think it's good. Last but not least, for the ones who are with us this morning, you will have the opportunity to have a free offer from WeYield, and I will give you more detailed at the end of the session. We have one company yesterday who already benefit from it, and I will give you more information at the end. So that's okay for the time being. I give the hand to James now. You can
hear me fine, and you can get used to my English accent. A quick more about me before I jump into the topic. I've been working with WeYield for the past 1.5 years. Prior to that, I worked for an IT company that did rate shopping for big airlines, car rental companies, tour operators, and online travel agencies. And prior to that, I worked for about 7 to 10 years in mainly pricing and business analysis for online travel agencies and tour operators. Okay, so let's have a look at my presentation for today. So today we're looking at tips and tricks about how to optimize during this period of constrained demand. There's 4 main areas of topics that we're going to be looking at. To start with, we'll be looking at pricing. Specifically, I'm going to be looking at some of the discounting that we've seen in the marketplace. And then we'll also talk about an area we think you should focus some of your activity on. We're going to look at yield strategies, which are based on utilization levels. It'd be good to get your feedback on the approaches that we discuss for this topic. The third topic today will be hopefully inspiring you to look at different product ideas, look at new ways to increase your utilization. Be good to hear your thoughts on those. And finally, we're going to look at diversifying your sales channels and a social media case study. So without further ado,
before we you start, James, just would like to check with the audience. Feel free to ask James to slow down if you think he speaks too fast, and feel free to say he's seeing the chat right now. So do not hesitate. Say, okay, James, I don't understand, or please repeat. Okay, feel free. We know that you are not all native English speaking.
Yeah, sorry, I tend to speak too quickly when I get excited. Just look in the chat. Is anyone finding this too fast? Shall I slow it down? No comments yet, so let's move on to looking at discounting. Excellent. So we've seen a lot more discounting in the marketplace since COVID hit us, and we anticipate seeing more discounting activity as we move into the traditional winter period for the majority of our clients. Although we work with clients worldwide, so some are actually entering their high season, but the majority will be entering winter shortly. And as such, we're increasingly seeing lots of discounting messages. Our take on this topic is that try to be more specific when you're using discounting messages. For example, here up to 20% off in the top left here, up to 30% off if you reserve online. It's a French advert. What we're finding is that these sort of discounts are being advertised, but then when you click on the icon, you go through to a dedicated page, it expands on the message, but ultimately the customer has to still do a search in order to find these fares. So we believe that you need to be a lot more upfront with when these fares can be found, perhaps provide a grid indicating the dates where they'll find these fantastic fares. We've also seen all-inclusive products being launched, but this is almost a contradictory one here. In this instance, they're saying it's all-inclusive, but it's actually only providing partial protection, which could be misleading to the customer. We're seeing discounting across various different sectors, business as well as leisure, premium cars as well as economy. Below, we found an example that's quite interesting on one of the French websites. It was offering a car from 22 euros per day. So we did a 14-day search in both November and December here. And actually, the November price is coming in at less than 22 euros per day. So that could be slightly confusing for the customer. So summarize, make it really clear what the customer is likely to save, and make it easy for them to find it. It shouldn't be a trial for them. Customers are scared of traveling still, so make the process as easy for them as possible. Moving on to the next slide, we've got a fantastic example of, sorry, Emmanuel.
James, I would like to ask the audience if do you think that those this kind of discounts really generated some additional demand for you, or it was just like, okay, it's a trend, situation is bad, let's discount, that's it? Do you have any comment to share quickly? Yes, it's a kind of habits, whatever the situation is, we discount straight away. No discount so far from Hortensio, okay, in Portugal. Jürgen. Okay, for Marcos,
yeah,
means only cheapest. We try to stay away from discounts. Okay, Jürgen. Okay, thank you very much. More discounts on medium-term rentals from Linda in Italy. Okay. it's important at this stage that we still believe that whenever there is an external factor on which you have absolutely no leverage at all, in fact, the discount will not attract any additional demand, okay? Because if people do not travel or do not rent, it's because they cannot do it. It's not because they don't want to do it. So discount is good to attract people when there is a demand. Where there is no demand, eventually we should also increase a little bit the price. We have some example in the airline business before. That's just shared ideas. Please, James, I give you the hand back.
Excellent. And so in this next slide here, we're going to look at an example we think is particularly good. Let me just make it full screen here. Excellent. So this is from a brand called Niza Cars, and we did a 3-day search for a rental in Barcelona. And what they've done here is they've created basically a bundle option for customers to consider when pre-booking their car. So obviously they list the basic price that you would typically see, probably what you see on a broker site, as well as 2 bundles offering different levels of inclusion. And we really think this is a great idea to really give customers choice, as well as to give them peace of mind as well. So in this instance, you see the cost of the rental, as well as a breakdown by day, which is really good. You also see very clearly what's included. And there's some fantastic inclusions in the all-in offering. They give a 2-hour grace period. They give some very good coverage for potential damage, 0 liability, which is fantastic. Free fuel, roadside assistance. It's truly all-inclusive, and we think that's quite exciting. It really takes the stress out of renting a car for customers. So bravo to these guys for creating this, and I hope it's been successful. Perhaps potentially as well, it would be nice to see the kind of discount that the customer's saving by pre-booking these ancillary add-on type activity in advance. That probably would be nice and might help conversion as well. But overall, we think it's great. I mean, perhaps also other things could be considered to be included here. Perhaps, for example, you could guarantee the model of car, or perhaps if it's a one-way, you could waive the one-way fee. I'm sure there's lots of interesting ideas you could try bundling and offering at different price points in order to give customers more choice. So I guess my question to the audience would be: have you seen other examples such as this? Have you tried them yourself? Have they been successful? Be good if you could drop it in the chat if you have, and obviously we can collect these ideas and share them with the audience at the end. Excellent. So let's move on to the next section, which is to do with pricing. Obviously, we're very fortunate here that we can see a lot of customers' rate shopping activity. We have seen changes to rate shopping activity as COVID set in. Obviously, year on year, the trends have changed. Customers have reported a much shorter lead time, much shorter advance purchase. They've seen a change to the bookings, more almost like a flattening of the bell curve, where they've seen more last minute, shorter duration bookings, and also a push towards mid and long-term bookings as well. And actually what we've discovered as we've done some tests is that mid and long-term bookings really could be an area for potential. It helps your utilization, which is obviously good. And we do think it's underserved. For example, we realized that only 15% of our customers were actually shopping for longer than 21-day durations. So we do think that it should be a consideration, and I'm sure that there could be interesting pricing strategies in place once you do focus on the area as well. So I'm going to show you some examples in the next couple of slides. I guess before we move on, so
maybe we could ask the audience what is the share of the midterm business in the total rental activities right now. You have an idea in the chat? We're talking like 10%, 15, 20, 50% maybe?
Has it increased significantly during the COVID period?
Christine from Iceland say yes, we do. Okay, it's paying attention to.
Excellent. So we're starting to see more prominence here. For example, BSB Auto, a broker, French broker, it's added a monthly rental tab. I don't know if you can see it in the top left of my screen here. So obviously it's becoming increasingly important, and customers must be searching for it. At this stage, it's just a list of from prices, different cars and offerings and from prices. And if you go to book, you actually end up filling in a form. So it's currently an on request product. But in the future, we see this becoming a fully automated booking and on an available product that people can book in advance, not just request availability. So it's the direction that things are moving in, and I'm sure that other brokers will follow suit and add this in due course. One of our customers has launched their own monthly car rental product, and they're proudly displaying it on their homepage with a very attractive price here of $199 and starting for a 29-day rental, which we think is very attractive. Great to hear how these guys are doing, but it's very prominent on their website, and it's great to see that they've diversified quickly when COVID started off in order to look for new ways to utilize their cars. In this example, we're going to pick on Guadalupe. We did some searches in November, but at the end I'll talk about some other destinations that we also looked at. What we found is interesting differences in pricing as you move through different duration bands. So what we did here is we compared the 21 to the 28 to the 30-day rental prices, and in this case for a mini car. So as you move from a 21 to a 28-day rental, you're extending by 7 days, which is approximately 33% bigger. And actually we're seeing an increase in prices of around 33%, which shows that prices are moving in line as the duration increases. However, when we move from 28 to 30 days, which is only a 2-day or a 7% increase in the duration rental, we're seeing that some brands in this region are drastically increasing the price, 30% or even close to 60% more for that rental, just for an extra 2 days. So this suggests to us that maybe this isn't an area of focus. Perhaps this is an intended strategy, or perhaps it's a consequence of the way that the rates are calculated using the rate grids when maybe they do rate shops for shorter durations and calculate the other duration bands as a result. And it looks like traditionally they weren't encouraging mid and long-term rentals, but this suggests that there'll be trouble filling those long-term rentals if the prices aren't more aggressive. We're also seeing the same for compact cars in the same region, except for in this case, we see again the 30-odd% increase for the 21 to 28-day movement. But moving from 28 to 30 days, which as I said was a 7% increase in duration, we're seeing 60, 64, even 125, almost a doubling of prices just for an extra 2 days. So it suggests that something's not quite right here. We also are looking here in this chart for the 21, 28 and 30-day durations, the difference between the mini and the compacts. And as you can see, there's some almost doubling of pricing, if not trebling or quadrupling of prices here between these car types. So you're not going to sell many compacts if it's almost 3 to 4 times more expensive to do a 30-day rental on a compact rather than a mini. And like I said, maybe this is the intended strategy, or maybe this is a consequence of how the different prices for categories are typically calculated, and then as you increase the duration, there's a further calculation at play. Finally, this data is represented in a slightly different way, looking first at minis and then at compacts. When we're at 21 days, the difference is only 134. By the time we get to 30 days, the difference is 316 euros between these two car categories in Guadalupe for a November rate shop. So obviously you can see a widening of prices as different pricing calculations at play or strategies. We can't comment on that. And for compact, we see a 581 euro difference at the 21 days stage. But by the time we reach the 30-day stage, we're seeing a 1,500 euro difference. So the cheapest brands are around 600 for a 30-day rental, whereas there's a cluster of brands up here that are doing the same 30-day rental, the same compact car type, for around 2,000 euros. That's really significant. These guys are unlikely to rent many at this sort of price level.
Before we jump, I would like to ask a question to the audience. Honestly speaking, okay, we are not going to disclose any company name, but are you totally clear that your rate structure from 28 to 20 or 21 to 28, 28 to 30 days is under control, has been rechecked recently, or maybe is not checked on a regular basis simply because you forget? Can you share it on the chat? Honestly speaking, yes, we check regularly. We are totally clear. Or good point. No, unfortunately not. Okay, you can say check regularly. Marianne from Hungary. Okay, it's checked. So it was somebody else, Linda from Italy. That's with the rate shop planner or with the rate checker tool we have at WeYield. It's a good way also to have on a regular basis some rate shop that will be run on an ad hoc basis, just for you to be able to say, okay, is it really under control? You can maybe run it once a month, once every 2 months, just to make sure on those long durations that your pricing is consistent and remain consistent compared to your competitors. Thank you for this. I give the hand back to.
Yeah, I mean, it should be noted that we picked on Guadeloupe for this example, but we did also check Reunion Islands, Athens, and Sweden as well, but we didn't present the slides because there's lots of slides. We actually found some different issues in those other destinations where the 28 to 30 day was relative. There was about a 7% increase in price, but in fact, the 21 to 28 jump, it wasn't necessarily a 33% increase, natural increase. We saw increases of 60, 70, 80% in some cases. So that suggests that there's also this is also prevalent in other regions as well, not just Guadeloupe. So Marco's saying we should check a capital city. Well, Athens is a capital, and so is Stockholm Arlanda. But you're right, it might differ by region and by seasonality as well. We just did a November check, but it's certainly something that customers should keep an eye on. As Emmanuel said, whether it's monthly or every 2 months, just to check that prices are in line, or check to see if the competition is doing something different. Might make you consider your own strategy. Okay, so let's so to summarize what we just looked at in the last couple of slides, we recommend attractive offers using the acronym KISS acronym, keep it simple, stupid. So basically, make it really easy for customers to locate the prices that you're referring to in your discount messaging. As we just saw, consider your category price differences, the way your rates are calculated. You might have done a lot of defleeting recently over the COVID period, and obviously that messes up the number of cars in each category, and maybe you need to consider how those are categorized, the price difference between them. Also, we recommend continue to do regular market pricing, market watching. And also we recommend, and this may involve some more manual effort, but keep an eye on charges. So go into your competitors' websites and look at the types of charges they're doing as part of the booking process, and see if they've manipulated any of these sort of add-on fees and what have you, as you get later into the booking path, to see if there's any changes happening there. Certainly, from my experience with airlines, is that ancillaries is a growing part. Some of the low-cost airlines get 40% of their revenues now just from the additional bag and other pre-booking charges. So it's a field that's evolving. Excellent. So so now we're going to start to look at the yield strategies. So let's have a look here. So what we're proposing for yield strategies is that you base your strategy on your current utilization. So while you're lower than 50%, we recommend a volume-based strategy. The goal here is just to generate as much volume as you can and remain attractive. So whereas you may be a premium brand, typically against your main competitors, you might want to consider lowering your prices to be within the pack of pricing, and in order to generate that volume. We also recommend maintaining tariff parity at this less than 50% utilization stage. So by that we mean make sure that you're connected to all your brokers and that they're aware of your pricing. Perhaps try to maintain a similar price across all your channels at this stage, because you want to raise awareness of your product and advise customers that you've got availability. We recommend having a look at your corporate and assistance channels. Although these may be long-term contracts, maybe there's some short-term marketing efforts or promos that you can work with these partners in order to generate more utilization. We recommend, and this is in French, but we recommend limiting your on-request bookings where possible. A lot of our customers have reported that they're doing more with less. There's typically less staff now, so you need to reduce the amount of admin dealing with one-off requests. And really you want all of your products available and visible. Okay. If we look below, we have an example of one of our booking reports. This is showing a year-on-year booking situation, and in this instance we're looking at the on-rent situation for the 19th of December, indicated by the black line, with last year being the blue line. In this instance, the customer is ahead of last year already, which is great. Perhaps because they generated a lot of volume. They've already reached 66% utilization. And to the right, we have what we call our pricing pace, which shows the evolution of prices over time. And this indicates via what we call a box plot. A box plot enables us to see the highest in the market, which is hidden by the box, and the lowest in the market, and the box itself represents the concentration. And this indicates that they're already at 66% and their pricing is already what we would call first tier. So they're already kind of above the main pack of pricing, and that's fine because they're already at 66% utilization. And in fact, it indicates that potentially they started to rise the price further, which is what we want to encourage. We want customers to know that as you get closer to departure, prices do rise, so they should book early and not miss out. As you reach the sort of 50 to 70% utilization range, we recommend that you focus on RPD. And as we said, you move from what we call a first to a third quartile pricing level. So where you were lower and amongst the pack, perhaps slightly cheaper than you typically would be, now you're kind of pushing up to your natural position and indicating to the market that you're raising prices. And with these sort of strategies, they don't necessarily have to be fixed in stone at 50% or even 50 to 70%. You can decide on your own bands what works for you and your business and what you're seeing at the moment. Moving on, we want to look at an interesting case study, perhaps a bad example of practice that we've seen within our own accounts, and we're not going to tell you who we're picking on here. But the top chart is our pricing pace. It shows the evolution of prices over time. And in this instance, we're picking on an 8th of August date, and we're looking at the situation as it stood on the 26th of July, 2 weeks in advance. So the market was moving along. You could argue the market was moving up. The customer themselves was below the market, perhaps generating good volume. But at this stage, they decided to, for some reason, to drop their price. Whereas actually what happened is the market actually itself continued to rise. And if we look at what we call our booking pace, which shows the evolution of bookings over time, you can see that bookings were nicely building up. And at the point that they made their decision to drop pricing 2 weeks in advance, they were already 65, 70% utilized. So perhaps they felt they needed to drop price to generate more volume. But in fact, it didn't really generate any more volume, and the market itself continued to rise. And because they lowered price, all they did was harm their RPD. So they didn't need to do that. They could have just continued to hold their price or even rise with the market and make better revenues. So I guess the summary of this is make sure that you've got access to tools that helps you really understand how your business is performing and the trends that you're seeing in the marketplace. You know, look at historical information of what happened previous year to get an understanding of how demand is building as you get closer to an equivalent key date from the previous year.
James, before we jump, can you go back to this screen, please?
Yep, sure.
I just would like to emphasize to the audience that the screen you see is exactly what is available on the apps. So this is what we call the pricing correlation with demand. And you can really correlate instantly, automatically on one graph, how the prices evolution is correlated to your own demand pickup. Okay, so it's not something that we build with two different graphs. It's just one display. So it's very useful. I would like to ask the audience if you think that this type of image and the example that James just pointed out makes sense for you, that sometimes, yes, to decrease price does not generate any additional demand, but as we can clearly see, impact negatively the RPD. Can you please just confirm, yes, it's clear, or no, I do not agree, maybe? It's important that we get this feedback because something that's kind of habit on many different areas in the world that we are supporting, unfortunately. Thank you, Linda, Marianne. Okay, it's good that you recognize this. So we'd like to emphasize that it's really important to see this, and that's the reason why recently our product and innovation team released this development during the COVID last summer, and I think it's really giving some light on the understanding. Yes, for the Marcus, it's possible to break it down by category, by stations, by cities. All the dimensions that are available in the apps are for sure also can be drilled down for this particular display. But for sure, you need to shop to have an automatic rate shop, and also on a regular basis to make sure we can design this graph on the upper one to make sure that for every week or every day, whatever the frequency your shopping is, we can build up this graph. If you do not shop, we cannot invent the data. I give you the hand, James.
Okay, excellent. So moving back to our example of a good practice from a client, as we move to beyond 70% utilization, obviously you're chasing RPD again. It's really the goal is to improve your revenues. Here we mentioned considering your broker and special category pricing. So when you're looking at brokers, maybe it's time to restrict availability to them. Maybe you switch off certain car types, or maybe you change your strategy of giving better direct pricing and slightly higher pricing for your brokers in order to encourage more direct bookings at this stage, but still maintain a visibility and availability. Special categories, make sure that they're very highly priced, ensure that they're well utilized. So you want to ensure that you're squeezing as much out of them as you can. They're usually in limited number anyway. We've also mentioned here not to touch your long-term durations, because that they aid your utilization either side of your peaks, and so leave your long-term duration pricing as it is at this stage. You don't need to tinker with them too much. So obviously, as I said, these 50, 70 and 70 plus bands might differ for your own business. You need to set your own criteria, your own thresholds, and you can use something like alerts in our tool, for example, to alert you when you reach them, so then you can assess your strategy and change accordingly. Okay, this is interesting. Jeff Rhodes mentioned here what we gave our brokers a pre-buy car. This can give sure revenue. Okay, interesting.
That's exactly right, Jet. The concept is to push the volume in advance to pre-buy. The difficulty is when you continue to open these guys close to the arrival at eventually a lower price. And even if you're on a rate parity model, keep in mind that you give away 20 to 25% commission. So anyway, the net contribution of these distributors compared to your direct business will impact your margin at the end. So the concept is to regulate those guys. We have a net price higher from our website. So the very good. So the thing is, what is the share in the total volume of your website compared to this broker or third-party channels? Okay, this is something that we think that it's good to have a good mix, but also to balance to make sure that anytime your direct website will be, we have the best offer to generate more contribution, but also will generate more volume. So you need to invest in your marketing and stuff like that to make sure that at the end, if the clients want to come with you, they have to find you on your website. Like the example we were showing with Nizaka earlier, to have a specific offer that is only available on your website, that is really attractive and totally different and cannot be found anywhere else.
And obviously, make sure you've got the processes and the systems in place in order to be able to easily monitor your business, monitor your different sector performances, monitor your category utilization, and lots of other factors that help you make quick and efficient decisions. Let's look at some inspiration for new ideas. First of all, we want to, we're actually going to look outside the car rental industry to start with. Obviously, the whole travel industry has been impacted by COVID, and we've seen other sectors trying to diversify quickly in order to grab a limited number of traveling passengers. Nordic Choice Hotels is an example of an unlimited offer that's been launched. They have over 200 hotels across Scandinavia and the Baltics. For one monthly fee, you can basically stay for as many nights as you can, which can work out amazing value if you take full advantage of it. Another example we're seeing elsewhere in the industry is Surfair. It's a Californian private jet company that offers a unlimited flying product. You pay a membership, and then you can, according to which tier you choose to pay for, you can almost fly as much as you like. So obviously you can see here that businesses are trying to adapt and just still keep to grab as much of the demand as they can. Within our own industry here, we have seen Sixt have launched Unlimited. This is across 9 countries, I believe, for 700 stations. You pay a monthly fee according to the car model that you decide to go for. It comes with very strong insurance options, free additional drivers, in fact, free fuel. If you take it back to the applicable stations, they'll top it up for you. And a second driver as standard. So it's a very compelling option. To be honest, at this stage, we're not sure how successful it is, but it's interesting to see that the big guys the corporates are looking at launching these in order to help their utilization. And I'm sure we'll see other big brands follow. So that's good. Elsewhere in our industry, we have an example here from Poland. At the top here, Panic launched a car sharing model based on downloading an app and then booking a car across 250 cities. They launched that this summer. Elsewhere, we're seeing Getaround. It's a French website that's offering hourly rentals. Obviously, that's convenient for customers who have got certain tasks to achieve and only need a car for a shorter amount of time. Elsewhere, we're aware of customers exploring the transfer market. Sorry, it's a bit too small to see that. But as they have cars at the airport already and there are customers arriving, and they're able to provide transfers and get the cars back and disinfected and ready to rent as normal. And this is giving them an extra income source during this period. We've also seen customers doing deliveries as well, helping with deliveries of key goods to vulnerable people and businesses as well, which we think is interesting. All of these ideas, we've no idea about the success levels of them, but it's good to see customers trying new things, and hopefully it's giving them success. We're increasingly seeing obviously digitization of processes, not just reporting, but the rental process itself. We surveyed some of our customers in order to get an idea of how much of the processes have been digitized, and obviously digitization has been kind of forced by COVID health and safety requirements. Customers want fully disinfected cars, they want contactless rentals. So we're seeing here that over a quarter of the customers have a fast check-in counter, so customers can quickly pick up their keys and jump in their car where possible, and don't have to queue in a long line, in a socially distanced line at the airport or wherever they're collecting their car. Just under a quarter are looking at non-counter key collection, so the keys already sat in the car waiting to be picked up. A slightly smaller amount of people are already experimenting with smartphone key technologies in order to be able to walk up to the car, place your phone on the dashboard and unlock the car and drive away. And elsewhere, we're seeing customers are looking at digital car damage checks. For example, back I think in Berlin, we did a great presentation from WeProve. There's other companies such as Click-ins that are doing digital car damage checks when the cars return. These are very quick ways to assess the damage and smooths and speeds up the process of checking in cars. We're seeing obviously fully digitized contracts in place. And also for corporate rentals, we're seeing kind of pre-sending of keys and contract documents to the partner prior to the actual rental itself starting.
I had a call this morning with one operating system, and the guy said that in fact during this coronavirus situation is fortunately getting a lot of revenue increase, and especially on his kiosk system. It's a WeYield system, the Greek system, and a lot of companies are in fact subscribing to this new option because they need to digitalize, they need to have a contactless features and devices at the counters. So it's really something that will continue in the future to ease and secure also all those check-in, check-out processes. Okay, good that you are working on it.
Excellent. So let's move on to our final section here, distribution and marketing. So traditionally, pricing and revenue managers, as we have in our audience, were typically gatekeepers of demand. This meant that they were able to pick and choose the best people who gave them the highest revenue in order to ensure their business is healthy. Nowadays, due to constrained demand, I would say that pricing revenue managers need to be demand generators. So we recommend that you look at the diversification of your sales channels. So whereas you typically might have been connected with the main brokers, the rental cars and the car trawlers of the world, we recommend that you seek out specialist OTAs. So for example, you need to have a good understanding of where your customers are coming from now versus where they were coming from last year. Which of your markets are even open? Perhaps one of your main source markets is locked down, so you're missing those customers, and so you need to switch for a different market and concentrate your marketing efforts there. So we would recommend looking to see where your customers are coming from and the sites that they're booking on, and ensuring that you're connected. For example, Chinese customers book on a site such as Zuzuche. Are you connected to them? That's a huge market. Israeli customers, for example, book on sites like Offran, and these are some of our specialist sites that we've listed that are specific to some markets. We also recommend seeking out what we call the GDS, or the Global Distribution and System Connected OTAs. These ones have a very wide network and will help you to establish high visibility amongst their own direct booking sites, of which there's a family of websites, as well as their connected partners as well. And finally, also look at what we call the comparison sites. Traditionally, these are always focused on helping customers find cheap flights, but they've branched into looking at helping do hotel searches and car rental searches, sites such as Momondo and Skyscanner. And you need to ensure that you're connected with these technology vendors and you're visible on their search engines as well. In the case of enhancing your visibility and your sales options to give you more choices, especially during the winter season. Obviously, during the summer season, when demand is back to a more level, you can pick and choose who you work with and who you restrict. But at this stage during the winter is a perfect time for you to start developing these relationships. Okay, and to end this presentation, we're going to look at a social media case study. In this case, it's one of our own customers called WeYield, who decided to launch some campaigns on Instagram. And their goal here is to own the theme, traveling in vans. So what they did is they put together a budget. in order to promote themselves, they partnered with key influencers here and use the platform to basically raise awareness of their brand and also to connect with customers. And as you can see here, there's some fantastic visuals posted, such as this one where the customer is asking the horse for directions, as well as people posting videos of dramatic mountain scenes. And we all love to travel. We all love to talk about travel. You should be finding the platforms that your customers are on, be it Facebook, LinkedIn, maybe for corporates on LinkedIn, potentially there's procurement people on there. You need to find the right platforms for you to connect to your customers, and you need to engage with them either before they book in order to confirm any questions they have, or even while they're in the rental, during their rental, to check that everything's going okay and they have any unanswered questions. And obviously platforms such as Instagram are set up to do that. And in terms of success, this customer spent between 15 and 20,000 euros to do this. So obviously it wasn't necessarily a small investment, but they've recorded close to 300,000 accredited sales to these campaigns. So obviously you can see the return on investment is huge. So if you do it well, you can really make this work for you, and not just in sales, but also in brand engagement and awareness. So what we would say, obviously, with any social media campaign is you really have to decide whether it's an individual that you hire who's an expert in the process, or whether it's a company-wide process where you're all engaging with customers and all sharing ideas. You need to think about the themes that you're going to target and the approaches you're going to take, and probably think about the sort of language and the style of communication that you're going to have, so it's consistent. But as you can see here, it can be a great success. So we'd recommend you give it a try and ideally tell us how it goes. I guess my question for the audience is, has anyone else tried any interesting social media campaigns, and what sort of success have you had? Oh, Linda's typing. Okay, so you've done mail campaigns. Okay, these are still a very good way to connect with customers, very trackable. Can be very cost effective to do direct emails as well, can be personalized. So yeah, that's great. Okay, Christine's mentioned that they've used various platforms. That's good. I forgot to mention Twitter. Obviously Twitter exists. It's harder to do it with a reduced number of characters, but if you can make it work, then that's great. Obviously platforms like Facebook and Instagram can be really visual. You can share videos and great pictures that you yourselves have taken, or even influence or your own customers have taken as well. So that's great. Okay, yeah, because obviously at the beginning of COVID, there was a bit of everyone used the theme of disinfection and cleanliness, but after a while, people became a bit fatigued about that message. So obviously now we want to inspire travel again. We want to remind people about what excites them about traveling. I'm a fan of the mountains, and that picture inspires me every day. So yeah. So you need to focus on themes and ideas and emotions and forming connections with your client base. Okay, Jet says they mainly use Facebook. Okay, connect with travel bloggers. Obviously, these platforms as well can be used for client-specific discounts that they wouldn't see on the brokers or direct. You can really control that direct discounting ability as well. And obviously keep it out of the eyes of the brokers. Travel bloggers, that's a good idea to connect with them and use their knowledge and help you push their products. Recommend driving itineraries, for example. Somewhere like Iceland, for example, fantastic place to drive. I can imagine there's some really good different itineraries you can suggest for 3, 5, 7, 10-day rentals. Could be really exciting. And Sven has mentioned that they're working with the local government.
Christine is pushing some advertising. That's good, Christine. That's good. We come to Iceland soon.
I think that's the platform to do. That's what we want to see.
Hey guys, jump on it. Share your Instagram.
Excellent.
We love it, Christine. Okay.
Excellent. Yep. So actually, we've now reached the end of my presentation. We started off looking at discounting activity, and basically the message was keep it simple and clear and help customers to find the discounted rates, rating them. But we also looked at mid and long-term rentals.
I would like to share a quick poll, Guy. We'll try to make it active. If you can answer a few questions on the right-hand side of your screen, you have the poll section close to the question. If you can just answer, you have multiple choices to answer. It would be interesting to get what you carry back. The social network, unfortunately, they are used too much to push cars, to push prices. Definitely, that should not be the concept. Ideas to travel, find a new restaurant, a good entertainment, a good scenery, to take pictures. That could be the concept because Instagram is picture. Anything to add, James?
Yeah, just I was just running through my conclusion slide. Basically, we looked at the opportunity with mid and long-term pricing. We also looked at the discount messaging. Keep it simple, easy to find your discounts. Then we looked at the yield strategies based on utilization levels. Obviously, the thresholds might differ for different customers, but that's something to consider. And I hope it's in line with how you guys work. We then looked at some inspirational ideas for new travel products that people have worked on in order to diversify their ability to utilize all their cars. And finally, we looked at a social media case study and talked about diversifying your sales channels. We give you as many opportunities to connect with your customers as possible.
Thank you, James. As I was saying on the beginning, so we have a special offer for our new prospects who want to get a free revenue management diagnosis. So we have thank you for this participation. As you know, for at this time slot every day of the week, we have some interesting topics. Please refer to our weyield.io/events page to register some more. Thank you for your participation. Wish you an excellent day, and hopefully you will join for the upcoming webinars. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.